This is from The Hill, and let me get to the article here. And this is about media consolidation, something we do like to talk about a good bit on this show. So, what's going on? Cox Media Group is considering selling 14 local TV stations. Now, Cox was the group that I believe merged in the first place. Cox Media Group announced Tuesday that it is evaluating its ownership of 14 local news stations around the country, saying the move will likely result in the company losing full control over the stations. Over the country might not be a typo. Cox President Kim Guthrie said in a statement provided to The Hill that the company is pursuing strategic options for its ownership or other interests for the 14 stations located in major media markets, including Seattle, Boston, Charlotte, and Orlando. It's important you know that this decision was not taken lightly by the company or the Cox family, Guthrie wrote, adding that the company will be thoughtful in our evaluation of possible partners and the impact these changes will have on our people. Our analysis shows that scale is critical to be successful. We firmly believe that our great... blah, 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 blah. Okay, so Cox's Media Group's decision to review its ownership of the station comes at its larger... Oh, no, Sinclair. That's the big one. That was the recent merger, Sinclair. So not too long ago, the FCC passed that law that kind of loosened the ownership rules on TV stations, although the rules are already pretty loose, but it loosened them even further. So Sinclair bought up a bunch of TV stations, and they synchronized their statements all across the country in a very Orwellian, gross move. Cox Media Group's decision to review its ownership of the station comes as its largest competitor, Sinclair, has sought to win regulatory approval for its proposed $3.9 billion merger with Tribune Media. Sinclair has faced criticism over its pro-Trump opinion segments. Many of the members of the media and opponents of the president have seized on this issue to make it seem as if those who are tough on immigration are somehow monsters. Sinclair Broadcast Group's chief political analyst, Boris Epstein, a former Trump spokesman, said in a segment, "No, what's monstrous is what's going on with children being torn away from their mothers, what ICE is doing, kicking over water meant for people, kicking over water, being brutal at the border, having this completely unnecessary militant response to immigration. That's what's monstrous. Not having reasonable border security that every nation has. That's not the monstrous part, but that's not what we're doing in the United States. So don't make it out like, oh, if you want any type of immigration, you're somehow a monster. No. Don't try to tie a bow and put a bow on what's going on here. It's not being tough on immigration. It's being brutal and inhumane. And we're supposed to pay for it. It's unclear whether Cox already has a buyer in mind. So this is just more media consolidation 101. Sinclair is doing similar to what Clear Channel did when the Telecommunications Act of 1996 happened. They're buying up a bunch of television stations. They're probably overpaying for them because for them it doesn't matter. They just want to homogenize stuff. They're going to drive these television stations into the ground. And I mean, whether Cox is doing something similar on a smaller scale, I'm not sure one way or another. I think all media homogenization is bad. I'm not as familiar with Cox as I am with Sinclair in this, for instance, but it could have been a similar thing where they gobbled up a bunch of local TV stations, overpaid for them, didn't have a plan to make them sustainable, so now they're losing money, so they're just going to sell them. It might be a similar notion. So, you know, I'm all about having a media expansion, kind of like what Audioport does, where they have programming, but it's very localized and it's all over the country, and it's kind of an established brand where people know what they're getting with that type of media. But media homogenization that these large corporations do is not that. And if it does have a political bent, it's bent to the right, to the hard right, because it's favoring the narrative of the corporatocracy. So, and we already gutted radio. Radio's over. It's not going to come back. You know, there's still some gems there, but you really got to dig for them. Local TV is going to be no different. And if we don't hold the front lines on net neutrality, the same thing's going to happen to the internet. It'll happen to the internet next. And don't think it can happen, because it can. So while media homogenization in old media is an issue, and one I pay attention to, and one that is worthy of concern, the bigger fish to fry is to preserve the free and open internet. And that's why I'm trying to get municipal internet through here where I live in Pasadena. I'm trying to do everything I can for net neutrality. And that's something we really have to be vigilant about, because the old media is not going to come back. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't come back. And if we lose the internet, which we might, it could happen, it ain't going to come back. It doesn't work that way.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your